Okay, and welcome in what's going to be my second blob. A few things in advance. One, I'm not a native English-speaking person. I'm from Belgium. I'm Dutch-speaking, but I'm going to give it a go. The main purpose of my blob is going to discuss the difficulties I encountered in choosing what equipment to use for start the podcast, where I got all my information, what's still puzzling me. Maybe you can help, maybe I can help. I still have to start with podcasting. But before we going to delve into the different topics, I want to thank a few people who helped me in starting the podcast. Probably you know them also. The first one is Daniel J. Lewis. He has the Audacity to Podcast. And that's a very interesting podcast because he gives some really good tips in preparing your website. So it's not really immediately to do something with podcast, but he gives some really interesting tips. Which pages do you need? Which plugins do you need? What do you look for? Very interesting podcast. The second one is Ask the Podcast Coach. That's with Dave Jackson and Jim Collison. Two very nice people. One of the most seasoned podcasters there are. But the discussion is, I can follow the discussion, but sometimes there's a problem with the seasoned podcasters. It's just too difficult for me. So Ask the Podcast Coach with Dave Jackson and Jim Collison. Then there is the Tech Bus with Stephen Haywood and Mike Myers. It's, for me, at the moment, one of the best podcasts. They talk a lot about all the technical stuff, but also in a way, newbies like me can understand it. Then there are a few other people, which I have to thank, like Andrew Zarian, Mike Phillips. If you should know something about audio, he is the man. He's very direct, but he knows his stuff. There's Ray Ortega, there's Curtis Judd, Kirk Harnack, Mike Russell, and other people. And the podcast I learned most was studiotech.tv. Unfortunately, they more or less stopped with the podcast. It was Mark Johnson from the UK with Vance Willis in the United States. If you go to YouTube and you look for studiotech.tv, there's a bunch of really interesting information. Why is it so interesting? If you're going to look at their first podcast, they start the way I'd like to start, maybe with Ycast. And after a few years, they got really, really professional with the TriCaster 8000 and stuff like that. Very expensive stuff, but they started really simple and then they got very professional. So those are the people and the sources I learned a lot. Okay, that out of the way. My first problem I encountered was choosing how to use audio. When you're listening and watching a lot of podcasts, people are telling you to buy this mic, that mic. It was driving me crazy. So at a certain moment, I had to make a decision. I went to the shop. I listened to different mics myself. Sorry. And I make the decision, and I've bought the Shure SM7B. It's a studio mic. I'm really pleased with it. And at the same time, and that's something Andrew Zarian and other people recommended, I bought the DBX 286S. That's a mic processor, but what's the most interesting part for me is the noise gate. I live near the airport here in Brussels, and there's a lot of noise over here. And with this noise gate, I can more or less filter out the unnecessary sounds. Of course, if there is a plane going to pass by, you're still going to hear it. But that helped me a lot in improving my audio. And the mixer I got was an Allen & Heath Z12FX. It's a mixer with 3, 4, 5, 6 mic inputs. But what's very interesting with this mixer is that it has a few accents. Probably you already heard about accents. It was something, it costed me a lot of time to understand what I meant with it. You're going to need it when you're going to use Skype. For instance, if someone is going to use Skype with you, you want to send all the audio to the other person minus his own audio. If not, he's going to get a lot of echo. And that solved my problem. And I used a few times Skype now with my mixer, and that seems to be okay. As you can see, the camera I'm momentarily using is just Logitech C920. It's a webcam because I didn't want to invest too much money. Just trying to test a few things out before I'm going to invest in the stuff we're going to discuss now. So yesterday I went to one of the few shops we have in Belgium. We specialize in live streaming. And we talked about a few things, and yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to buy. So what I propose is that we going to discuss a few things, software, hardware, live streaming. Please feel free to come in and even discuss it, or if you have tips for the other person, it can be very interesting. So what I learned from people that started to us, the first thing you can do is to go the software way. So there are a few software programs. For instance, Boinx TV, I have it, and you can bring in a few cameras and do the live switching using titles and stuff like that. Problem with it is that my processor, I'm a Mac guy, but okay, let's not start a discussion between Mac and PC. But my processor was always going 90%, 100%. So it's not something that really works. Of course, and the next program, everyone heard about it. It's Wirecast. I tested it. It's a very nice program, but all the software programs have more or less the same problem, and that is they use a lot of your memory and processor. So it's very interesting to use it just as a switcher, but if you want to use a lot of inputs, I think you need some extra hardware. And maybe the best program at the moment for me is vMix. It's an Australian program, and what I like about this program is the guy behind it. He is top-notch regarding customer support. He's such a friendly guy. He listens to his customers. He improves his product. The only problem for me is it's only PC. He made a choice in developing a program just for one platform. Okay, I can understand it. And it's the reason maybe I'm going to buy a PC, a Dell laptop with Thunderbolt, and going to use that with vMix. So that's the first choice you can make, going with the software, just software, but be aware it's going to ask a lot of your internal memory and your processor. What a lot of people are doing is just using their laptop in combination with some small hardware. For instance, Blackmagic, they have a mini recorder. It's a small thing. It works with Thunderbolt. And I saw a podcast with a young guy in the United States, and he used 2 of these small boxes with a MacBook Pro. And 2 SDI cameras came in with that, and a third USB camera. That works very well if you have a real beefed up laptop in combination with those boxes. It's not that expensive. You can try it out. If it's okay for you, in combination then with Wirecast or vMix, you can start podcasting. That seems a very nice starting point for me, because you don't have to invest too much money. Certainly not if you have already a laptop. Then you have the real hardware switchers. One of the most known brands is Blackmagic. That's the way the shop yesterday said to me, maybe it's good for you to start with Blackmagic. And they have different kind of mixers. They have a mixer from around about $1,000 dollars. The studio, the ATEM Studio. I'm also busy with live streaming badminton in Europe, and there is a Dutch company who does all the live streaming for the European Badminton Federation, and they're using the ATEM Studio with just a few HDMI cameras, and it works really well. And they use the ATEM Television Studio as a switcher, and they're using Wirecast as a software program to switch between the different cameras. The only problem for me is the audio part of the ATEM Studio switcher. It's some kind of analog audio, so you need a conversion between analog and digital. A lot of people are using this switcher, and for about $1,000 or euro, you can start. Then they have other switchers that range from, when I go to the website of Blackmagic, the other switchers, they have their range, they start from about $1,695 till a few 6,000. Very interesting switchers. The problem is, do you really need this when you start? I don't think so. I wanted to buy one of these switchers, and I decided not to do it. One of the problems with those switchers apparently is that they are very noisy. And you can, of course, put your switcher in another room, but I don't have this possibility. And that's the reason I've decided not to buy one of those switchers. Another very interesting product, but it's not that cheap. It's from AJA, and AJA has a really nice project. It's called the IO 4K. It's about $2,000, and it's Thunderbolt 2. So what a lot of people are doing is they're buying this IO 4K, and it's doing all the processing work for you. So you can put 4 cameras in it, and via Thunderbolt 2 you're going to your laptop, and you're just using then Wirecast or vMix to do the switching. At the site of vMix, if you're just going to go to vmix.com, you see they have a bundle with the IO 4K in combination with vMix. It's a very nice solution, I think, very portable. Let's say if you want to broadcast outside, you take your laptop, you take the IO 4K, your cameras, of course, and yeah, you can start with it. And then there is another brand I found, but that's the TriCaster. And that's yeah, that's a dream, but it's a very expensive dream. If you look up TriCaster, and for instance TriCaster Mini, it's such a nice product, but it's so expensive. Yeah, 6,000, 9,000 for the basic version, and it goes to 30,000-40,000 euros. It's a product that it's used very much in the United States in the colleges and universities, but it's way too expensive for me. But if you have the money, I think yeah, it's very interesting. So let's say you finally made the decision what to do. I think there's still one thing maybe you have to buy, and that's a streaming appliance. Why am I saying this? You can stream from the same computer as what you're mixing with. Problem is, it's going to ask again an extra part of your processor and memory. And a very interesting product is the Video from Teradek. They have now 3 versions of it. They started with the Video. They have now a very small Video, and they have the Video Pro. And the Video Pro is a very nice product because it can bond different cellular phones, for instance. Let's say you're working with a cable, and there is a problem with the speed, and then you can use up to 4 cellular phones from friends or your own, and it bonds the speed together, and you can still continue with your live streaming. So that's really a product what I'm thinking to buy, the Video Pro, maybe in combination with the AGA and a laptop. So that's more or less for me, I think, the way that I'm going to go. So that's more or less in a nutshell the things I found until now. I don't know what you think about all this. If there are people who wants to come in and say something about this, please feel free. If you have any comments, please feel free to give any comments about what I said. Yeah, this is it more or less. It's now 2 or 3 years that I'm following different podcasts and all the other things. And at a certain moment, you have to make a decision, and it's really a tough one. And what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to start in a not too expensive way. But okay, we have a question here. To stream from Henrik. To stream live, do you connect the DBX to a USB mixer? Henrik, if I'm understanding your question, I'm using the DBX just to improve my audio. I'm going with from my my mic is going into the DBX, and from the DBX I'm going through my mixer, and that's just improving the audio. It has nothing to do with the streaming. Does that answer your question? Okay. And then I have a question from Kevin. What subjects are you podcasting about? That's a really good question. And that was my biggest problem, and is still my biggest problem. What subject are you going to talk about? The first problem I had was, in which language am I going to talk? Because, as you heard, I'm not an English native speaking person. I think I'm going to start with a Dutch speaking podcast, probably about live streaming. Probably about another podcast is going to be about WordPress, because I'm a seasoned WordPress user. I make WordPress sites for other people, and I think I'm going to talk about that. If my presentation skills are improving over time, I think I'm going to talk or going to make a podcast in English. About which subject, I'm not sure, because what I learned from other podcasters is that you have to talk about a subject that you know really well. Maybe that's a problem with Blab, that people are just using it to talk. It's well, you can talk about different topics, but if you, like now, for instance, I started this Blab, and after 20 minutes, yes, my Blab was more or less over, because I know a lot in theoretic about podcasting, but I'm not a podcaster. So I'm not going to talk about podcasts, but I'm going to talk about subjects that are new. Maybe I'm going to talk about my journeys I've made. I've been in Africa. I've been in all places, Asia, Europe. I can talk about that, but that's for me a huge problem, finding a topic which you can talk about every week. When I'm seeing some of the seasoned podcasters doing 3 podcasts a week, it's incredible. Try to speak once a week for, let's say, 1 hour about one topic. I think the first month that's going to be rather easy, but after 1 month, well, if you can do it with a co-host, and that's, for instance, when you look at Ask the Podcast Coach with Dave Jackson and Jim Collison, or the Tech Bus, Stephen Hayward and Mike Myers. They're doing it with 2 persons, and I think it makes a lot easier when you have a co-host. Because if I'm stuck now with what I'm going to talk about, the other person can still help you out. Is that okay for you? Okay. Durham wrote, much more than technology and equipment is a necessity for developing an online persona. Yeah, that's 100% correct. Yeah, it's also correct that people are watching for a few minutes and then leaving. You're probably nervous. That's correct. And don't forget the entertainment factor. And I think that's one of the advantages of Blab, and maybe at the same time the disadvantage, that everyone is starting a Blab now. I just wanted to do it. I was hoping to get a lot of feedback, what other people are going through in choosing the right equipment and stuff like that. But it's certainly a fact that yeah, you have to develop an online persona, and maybe that's one of the most difficult parts of it, that stand out of the crowd. Certainly, if you want to do a professional podcast, which I'm far from it, but it's a very good observation. Thank you. Yeah, talk about the latest technology in Belgium to start. That's a nice one. It's something I've discussed with other people in the United States and the UK. I know it's rather odd that there are not too many podcasts in Belgium. A lot of people were saying, start a podcast. We need a podcast. Maybe if you start, other people are going to follow. But it's, yeah, when I say to my friends, for instance, I'm going to start a podcast. What are you going to do? They don't even know what a podcast is. So in that respect, we are way behind the UK and the United States. And it's something that strikes me, that apparently podcasting seems to be a very Anglo-Saxon thing. There are few German people I follow, but French. But in the United States, it's really booming at the moment, podcasting. Also in the UK, but over here it's not that easy, and that's also the reason maybe I'm thinking about starting it in English, because let's be honest, when I'm doing a blog just for myself, yeah, I can talk to myself. You want an audience. I'm not needing 50 or 70 people like the big podcasters. It's also always nice to have a certain audience, and an audience that can discuss with you. So that's still something I have to see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Durham again. He's saying what he means about latest technologies, what people are doing in Belgium with technology. Yeah, that's maybe an idea, because we have a few spin-offs of the university here. We are doing it's something with microelectronics, but frankly, I don't know much about this subject. Yeah, as you see, still a lot to think about. Not only about the technology I'm going to use, but also about the topics. So I think, well, I almost talked about half an hour. I want to thank the people who stand with me for this half an hour. And I certainly am going to start another blog. Yeah, Durham, maybe I'm repeating myself, but you're talking about technology in the schools. It's funny, because I'm a help desk guy in a high school here in Belgium, one of the biggest high schools. And yeah, you're probably going to laugh, but I'm going to start with deployment of iPads. So now, 2015, almost 2016, we're going to start with using iPads and how to use them in education. And that's really the level we're here at the moment. People, of course, everyone has an iPhone or an iPad or another device, but really using it in education, we're far behind. and I keep fighting against it. Also, in our high school, 1 month ago, I got the green light to start. We're going to build a studio with green screen where the students can start how to learn to podcast, how to light, how to use a camera. And we're one of the first high schools who are going to do it, besides the multimedia schools. But it's sometimes it's crazy. At certain with certain things we are way in front, and other topics, informatics, using it in school, we are way behind. It's yeah, it's frustrating, but it's like that. Yeah, Durham said, okay, not all Americans have access to technology. Okay, maybe we're going off topic, but I really like the discussion. It's something, Durham, I discussed also. Last month, there was a discussion in our school, that students, their curriculum and their exams, they can look it up on the internet. And I said, yeah, but that's very nice, but not every student has the same possibilities. There are people who are already, they're glad they can pay for their studies, and they don't have the most fanciest laptop. People passed in my office with a laptop of 6-7 years old with Windows XP. They don't have the most reliable internet at home, and so everyone is thinking, everyone has a laptop, top-notch laptop, or top-notch broadband speed, but that's not the case. And it's something that's easily forgotten also here in Belgium, that there are still people who are struggling to pay for their bills, their high school bills, because it's well, we're thinking it's education is expensive in Belgium, but when I see the prices in the United States or the United Kingdom, for instance, it's a lot worse. So we can't complain. Okay, if that's okay for you guys, I want to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for staying so long. I maybe discussed a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes about the podcasting and the software. And maybe till next time. And yeah, if you have a blog, don't hesitate to invite me, and I certainly try to follow it. So thanks you, and bye-bye.